Role-playing games. You might think of a group of friends, a table, lots of paper and dice, but I think of sitting alone at my computer. It doesn't really matter what I think. RPGs are my favorite type of game, with lots of them being made each and every year. So if there are so many, which ones are the best? Well, there's a lot of bad ones out there, I can tell you that, and the term RPG gets stretched further and further every day. But what are the best RPGs? Well, I can't give you an objectively correct answer, but I can list off my top 5 RPGs, which is what I'll do now. Okay, now. Why does this thing never work correctly? First up at number 5, and yes, these are in order, I have XCOM 2. Now, some of you might be questioning this entry's place here on this list of RPGs. XCOM is a tactics game. You'd be right, but if you've played XCOM 2, you'll know that there's quite a bit of role-playing involved. Headcanon, if you will. Sure, the goal is the same each time you play it, but the way you reach that goal can change drastically from playthrough to playthrough. You have all these soldiers with different skills and equipment, and as you play and they rank up, you start to get into the role of the commander. You don't want to lose this guy, he's been with you since the start of the war. It's an RPG where the roleplay is the main part here. That doesn't mean much if the gameplay isn't good, but this is XCOM, specifically XCOM 2, which means that the gameplay is in good hands. It does play a lot like an RPG. You've got a handful of troop classes, and the War of the Chosen DLC adds 3 much more complex hero-type classes that add a lot to the game. The more you play, the more you learn about what enemies are weak to what and how to best use certain skills. It's a really fun game, and I find myself coming back to it every year for a playthrough, as a single playthrough isn't a massive time investment. Great game. If you've never played a game like XCOM, XCOM 2 is an incredible place to start.
It hit the plate.
Taking the number 4 spot is none other than Kenshi. Kenshi is a sandbox RPG in both the literal and figurative sense. There's a lot of sand. There's no main quest, there's no guidance, there's no waypoints, you just go. It sounds boring, but the freedom of choice in Kenshi is incredible. Just because there's no waypoints or quest logs doesn't mean that there's a lack of things to do. Kenshi has a wide range of factions to interact with and locations to discover, and there's plenty that you can do to fit into the world. You can make your own army and conquer every town you see, you can follow a faction and complete tasks for them, you can build your own base, you can collect a massive party, or you can just adventure with a single character. The freedom Kenshi provides is really impressive, and it's one of those games where you'll just keep getting sidetracked time and time again, finding new things to engage with. The systems are deep enough to sink your teeth into, but not so complex that managing things becomes overwhelming. It strikes a nice balance of depth and simplicity that goes a long way in making the game more approachable. I absolutely love this game, and if you're looking for a chill game with a really great atmosphere, you might want to consider Kenshi. Next up at number 3 is Underrail. I've talked about Underrail recently on the channel, so I won't go into too much detail, but Underrail is one of those games I just can't put down for good. It's got so many build options and decisions to make within the story, and it doesn't hold your hand at all. There's one single room that holds all the tutorials, and then you're on your own. Exploring the world, finding secrets, and uncovering the mysteries of this densely packed world is incredible, and after my many playthroughs, I still find new things every time I play it. It's definitely not without its faults, but if you're looking for a CRPG to really sink your teeth into for a long time, this is a great one. Now we're into the really good stuff, the finely aged cheese, a nice sharp cheddar and herb. I just love cheese, dude. The last 2 entries on this list are nearly equal in my mind. Only for a few reasons is one better than the other, but the game that fell just short behind number 1 is Knights of the Old Republic 2. Star Wars in video games, it's like peanut butter and jelly. You got your Star Wars on my video game, no, you got your video game on my Star Wars. It's a match made in heaven. And the clear best video game adaptation of the Star Wars universe isn't even canon, I don't think. I don't know, maybe it is. I don't really care. Knights of the Old Republic 2 is not only the best Star Wars game ever made, it's also one of the best games ever, period. Now, it doesn't have the mechanical complexities like some of the other games on this list, but it makes up for it with incredible gameplay and storytelling. Knights 2 is the best Star Wars story ever told. It revolves around the nature of the Force and the balance, and It's just amazing. It's a very mature Star Wars story with some absolutely incredible characters. Kreia is such an interesting and deep character. She comes off as kind of confusing at first, but as you talk to her and understand her motivations, she brings up some very interesting and thought-provoking questions that really makes you think outside the box in terms of what you think you know about Star Wars. It takes something that we all know, Star Wars, and twists it in a way that makes it more than just the original trilogy. The gameplay is also a lot of fun, the combat is good, the exploration is a lot of fun, but the story is absolutely one of the best out there, and it's the main reason it's on this list and why it's so high on this list. Before we talk about number 1, let's go through a couple of honorable mentions that didn't quite make the cut. First off is Shin Megami Tensei 4. This is a Nintendo 3DS game, and honestly, if I had a way to play and capture footage for it on PC, it would be at number 5. SMT4 is amazing. It has a really interesting world, the combat is just perfect, and the characters are all interesting. It's incredible, and if you have a way to play it, you simply must. Another honorable mention I have is Divinity Original Sin 2. Now this game is absolutely incredible. The big thing for me is the gameplay. Such amazing spellcasting with so many different elements and interactive surfaces and objects. It's an amazing game, and the only reason it's not on this list officially is because Baldur's Gate 3. What is there to say about Baldur's Gate that hasn't already been said? This is the RPG of all time. This is a real, deep, engaging RPG that has been done to the highest standard. There are other RPGs out there that do certain things better, but as a whole package, from the voice acting to the visuals to the sound to the gameplay, no other RPG has been able to hold a candle to Baldur's Gate 3. Larian went above and beyond with this one. There is no equal in the gaming industry to Baldur's Gate 3. It's composed of such consistent quality from start to finish, and it's not a short game either. This is a legit RPG. It's got a lot of mechanics, it's got a lot of choice and consequence, and it looks like this. I mean, really, I can't express how shocked I am that a product like this exists today. And they didn't even charge $70. This is a $60 USD game, which, if you've been seeing the newest Call of Duty games, you'll know is no longer the standard price. All this with seamless co-op. The stars really aligned here, and Baldur's Gate 3 is a masterpiece of a video game, and I cannot wait to see what game tries to dethrone it. I suspect it'll be a while before that happens though. If you stuck around to the end, thank you. It really does help out. If you've got a favorite RPG that is or isn't on this list, let me know down in the comments. Until next time.